Hey everybody and welcome back. So as a lot of you know, 500 employees at the GM plant in Oshawa have recently been laid off. Of course, due to the tariffs, economics, the economy, not too many people buying cars, and GM restructuring like other auto manufacturers. It's not good for those who have been unlucky and been laid off. It brings uncertainty, fear, concern, especially if you have a family, how you're gonna pay your bills, especially if you have debt, and then of course these days with the rising cost of food and everything else, really. They went and talked to a lot of these workers just after their last shift and asked them a couple questions. We're going to take a look at the responses, but there's one particularly I want to discuss about his response. Here we go.
I'm going to be laid off as of today. We do have callback rates now, so I'm getting to the point right now, I'm getting older, but I'm looking for something different.
This was my last shift. Yeah, there's no sense in getting stressed out over something you have no control over.
Yeah, I'm one of the lucky ones, but there's a lot of people who aren't so much.
I hear that the people that are staying have got 32 Saturdays scheduled and 1 week shut down this summer. I wish them the best, and for all those getting laid off, I hope that they find what they're looking for, and when one door closes, another one opens.
Yeah, some people are going, some people are staying, but hopefully they get better luck.
I feel like a lot of people have, I don't know, some sort of resentment.
Yeah.
But, I mean, you just gotta go on, move on, right?
I would like to keep my job, but it is what it is.
I'm considering moving to Alberta for work
I put the blame on Trump. Just big crybaby.
because the jobs in Ontario are disappearing quickly. I blame that on the governments, both Canada and US. I just wish Carney would go down to the States and get a friggin' deal, some type of deal made with Trump, so that at least Ontario can be saved, because right now Ontario is not looking very, very good at all.
Okay. A lot of them seem to have high hopes that something will something will turn out for them, or they'll be able to find something. And I wish them all the best, especially hopefully the union will be able to find some of them. That last gentleman in the that yellow coats, where he's talking about going to Alberta, maybe to look for some work, because looks like they're doing okay there, especially with the oil sands. There's work to be found. It's not easy moving your family, depending on what kind of family. If it's just him and his wife, kids, whatever it is, to uproot from one province to another. So that's difficult, but I'll give it to him, and I wish him all the best. Good luck for the gentleman. But his comment on the blame, yes and no, it's both governments, but it really isn't both governments. It's Trump. It's Trump. Okay, you can say, well, Carney's not making a deal. You know, he's been flying around like Pierre's been stating, and gallivanting all over the world, but he's been making deals with everybody else because that's what we need to do. We can't rely on the U.S. anymore. They're unstable. They're not reliable, especially with the current government. And there's 3 more years of Trump. 3 more years of Trump. I can't, we've only gone 1 year with Trump, and look at the mess he's caused. And we have 3 more years of this. You can't make a deal with Trump. The deal you're going to come out with, or what Canada will come out with, is not going to be a deal that even this gentleman's going to like. Because Trump, the only thing he wants is anything and everything for the U.S. When you're negotiating, 2 parties negotiating, the best deal is when both parties have good things and both parties have things they don't like. But that always depends on each party and what they're negotiating with. What leverage do they have? Well, Carney's been working on the leverage for Canada. And we've been increasing our leverage because now we don't technically rely on the U.S., even though we still do, because they're still a huge trading partner. But we're not beholden to them as much as we were, say, a year ago, where before Carney's been making a lot of these deals with Asian Pacific, Middle East, China recently, and everything else. But even those deals take time to come and produce and start affecting our economy. Like with the EVs with China. China's going to start selling their vehicles. They're going to open up this market. They're going to see the potential, and then eventually they're going to move a lot of their manufacturing, or some, not a lot, but they're going to move some of their manufacturing here to Canada if they want to get a foothold in North America, because that'll be the criteria of the deal. So that takes time. But in the meantime, people like this gentleman don't have a job. So what do? So he's wishing Carney would go down and make a deal with Trump. Again, how do you make a deal with Trump when he doesn't even know what deal he wants? In the beginning, it was all about the fentanyl, that we weren't doing enough to secure the borders for the states to stop the flow of fentanyl, which is like 46 pounds flowing over to the U.S. from Canada. We increased our budget for border security like $6 billion. Wasn't enough. And then he starts going on to, we want to move manufacturing from Canada to the U.S. because we've been subsidizing Canada. He feels that we've been taking advantage of the U.S. Us, little old Canada, taking advantage of the mighty empire USA. Not true, but that's what he feels. And that's why he's trying to force all the manufacturing to go to the U.S. So how do you make a deal with that? Now, he's talking about annexing Canada, or 51st state, because he's been talking about that with Greenland, Mexico, Venezuela. How do you make a deal with that? He's frustrated, this gentleman. His life is turned upside down. He wishes that the two parties could come to make an agreement. But what he's not understanding is you cannot rationalize with an unrational person. Trump is unrational. He's not stable. His emotions are wild. Either that's the way he has always been, which there's many examples, but more so now because there's theories that he's got dementia, he's got Alzheimer's, he's not going to last very long. His health has gone down the tubes. How do you make a deal with somebody like that? Even his administration, like everybody's being thrown under the bus. There are no adults at the table when it comes to his administration. They're actively trying to hurt Canada by co-opting the separatist movement in Alberta, trying to make Canada look unstable so that nobody wants to make a deal with us. So how do we make a deal with people like that? You can't. There's no deal making with people like that. Carney right now, which even if Pierre Poilievre was in power, he would have no better luck to make a deal with the U.S. unless he capitulated and gave them everything they wanted. I would hope he wouldn't, but I'm going to go on the premises he wouldn't, okay? So you can't make a deal with an unstable person, either with Carney or with Pierre Poilievre. Trump, has a plan that he wants to, where he had a map of North America, where the U.S., Canada, Venezuela, and Greenland were shaded in with the American flag. That's what he wants. He's looking for a legacy to show that he's like a world power, like more so than they are now, that he increased the land mass of the U.S., like what Putin's doing or trying to do with Ukraine. How do you make a deal with that or that type of person? You can't. So this gentleman, even with his frustrations, and anybody like him must understand there's no deal to be made with Trump. Either the midterm elections sway towards the Democrats and they're able to reel him in and stop his tormenting and his shoot by the hip tariffs and get him under control, or whatever deal that comes about is not going to be in Canada's favor. So even if and when we do make a deal and things don't change, it's still not going to help this gentleman. And I hope people understand that. The faster they understand that, the better they can adjust and try to adapt for the new future here in Canada. Anyways, I wish this gentleman and everybody else who has been laid off the best of luck. I remember when my dad was laid off in the 90s, his company had shut down. It was hard. Went from 2 to a 1 income family. So I totally understand where a lot of these people came from. Anyways, guys, take care. We'll talk later.